So I figured out, for me, how much I needed to cut out, which is this piece. I cut it out of both sides and then joined it back together and welded it. I'm using the original shim plate to hold everything square in place. To give you an idea, you can buy the 88 to 96 aluminum brackets, and it's far easier and less work to do than this. I just welded this. It's still hot. I haven't ground anything down yet. But that's basically it. As far as these brackets go, they're not super complicated. You just have to figure out, measure the distance, because the bracket slides over this to the tip of the wedge. But you have to consider that this is rubber, and when you clamp it down, it's going to crush a little bit. And so that's what I did. If you have the equipment to do this at home, welding and whatnot, you can weld your own, or you can just buy the other ones. I leave that up to you. So I also wanted to point out that on this plastic that I put on here, I ended up just cutting the sides off, because I don't think it's going to hit anywhere on the sides on the control arm. So I'll put a little bit of grease on here before I put the spring back in. You can see it on there, shiny. That's just a rubbing protector. So next step is to clean up these welds. I've already got the other one of these clamps done, and then I'll begin reassembly. Alright guys, so getting ready to put the front end back together. I got my plastics are all glued on. I'm going to put a little bit of grease on each plastic. And I just use a little brush on each end. And I've already applied grease on the control arm right here where the spring sits. There's already grease there, so that way when the control arm moves, this will slide back and forth nice. Okay, so then you just take your spring, your archer, your spring goes down, so you just slide it back in. And the next part of the deal is I'm going to move underneath, because I need to put these brackets on that hold the spring up in there. So I'm going to move to the underneath now. Alright guys, so now I'm just getting the brackets on these pads. We'll slide the spring through. And then you just slide it up on the bolts. There's one. And of course it's just a matter of playing with it and getting it right. There's one. Okay. Got a nut. Not a lot of room, so I recommend taking a socket and an extension. You can just slide the extension right on up in there. And start your nut on. And of course. So I'll get these set up on here and we'll come back to you guys. Hey guys, so in going back together on the Corvette here, I wanted to point out a couple of things. So the next, I got the spring bracket set in up there, kind of hard to see. So the next piece we're going to put on Oops. Here's the shock mount. You want to make sure that your J-clips are still here. One just fell off for me. So this is your sway bar mounts to here, your shock mounts here. That also holds the drop of the control arm. So before you do that though, there's the one long bolt that goes back here that goes across through that holds that shock mount on. You want to stick that bolt through before you lift up on the control arm, because the spring is in the way of it. So you can use a pry bar. In my case, I've got this lift and I've got a porta power that I'm going to use to lift the control arm. So I'm just going to get it set right now. Okay. Whoop. And all I'm going to do is just lift the control arm up enough that I can get this shock bracket in. And looks like I've got the wrong side, so I gotta grab the right side here. Is it? There it is. Okay, so I found it. This just goes on like that. You got two short bolts. I go down through here with nuts. Drop it. Put these bolts in. Then push this one through. And I drop the nut. Hmm. 13. I just want to get these fairly tight, because they do hold the shock mount. Okay, that's tight. Okay. Now, I lift up with the porta power. I want to be careful because this car is on a lift, that I don't tilt it over too much. So I'll just get the shock just where I can get the bolts in. Like now. I'll use the bolts to pull it up. There we go. So as you pull these bolts up, it'll bring the arm up into position. And it'll take the pressure off of the porta power. Now, if you don't have a porta power, like I said, you could always stick a long bar in there with an assistant, have them lift up. There's not that much spring pressure on it, so not a huge cause of concern if you don't have a porta power. And then just tighten these up good and tight. And that's that. And the next thing you can do is put the sway bar on. Tappy tappy. That's what the other long bolt's for. Just a little taparoo. Put the nut on here. Some sockets. That should be 15. Okay. Extension off. And that's it. Now I can lower the quarter power. And that upper control arm still moves, so when I do come back and put the spindle on, that won't be an issue. So for now, I'm going to go ahead and have this protective bracket. This bracket, or plate rather, protects the bottom of the spring from getting an impact. This goes on with, there's 4 bolts. One. There's 2. Where is it? Okay, last bolt. Okay, let's switch back to my 13 here. Do up these bottom bolts first. Okay. And I can get the quarter power out of my way now. I'll need it on the other side. Okay, one more to go. Okay, well that's that. Now we'll grab our tools. Go to the other side. Okay guys, so back to the other side here. I'm gonna put this spring bracket back in, or shock bracket. Shock sway bar bracket, whatever they call it. Start it on there. Grab my other 2 bolts to just had. Oh, there they are. Found them. And we'll jack this up in. Okay. Tighten these down. Oh, come on. Okay, that's tight. One more. Okay, that's tight. Now we'll just jack up the quarter power and put the shock in. The other thing, since I got the sway bar connected on the other side, you have to guide this mount up onto the sway bar, otherwise it'll jam up. To go. There it goes. Yep, on the sway bar. And I'm getting close to the shock now. Okay. Then I'll take a shock bolt. See if I reach yet. Nope. Not there. How about this side? Almost. Let's see if I can pull it into this one. Oh, there it goes. Oh, we'll start this one next. Well, not quite grabbing yet, so we'll go a tad bit higher. Not yet. I'll just all the way down on this one. There, it feels like a grab there. Okay, that's tight. That's tight. Now I'll put the sway bar bolt in. There it goes. All right. We gotta get a wrench. Okay. Okay, so more bolts tight. So I wanted to point out something else. You have these rear control arm mount bolts. You want to loosen those up before you set the car down for the lower control arm, because you're going to have to set it on ground level, drive it around a little bit as per the manual, and then retorque those. If you don't do that, it'll tear the bushings, and then you get to do this all over again. Oh, no, I crawl underneath real quick. There's the inner spring mounting bracket. I had to lift the spring up to get that bracket up. Now it's sitting up there. I can put this nut on. I can grab my impact and rattle it on. So bear with me and I'll be back. I don't know if you can see it. Back in there, so my hand's kind of touching it. But anyway, it's in the center of the spring. It's a retaining bracket. There's two bolts. One you get at through the top with the hood open, through the cross member, and the other is right underneath the steering linkage right there. So, anyway, hold on, let me get them tight. Okay, so the inner two spring brackets are installed and torqued to 50 foot-pounds. I don't have a camera, guys, so I couldn't really film me doing that part of it, but follow your manual. It's pretty self-explanatory. Next thing, I want to put the spring guard on. And that just goes up in here. That's just to protect the spring from any impact from underneath, being it's made of fiberglass. Okay, one more. Okay. $13mm. Well, these brackets, you want to do the bottom ones first. Kind of hold the bracket in place because otherwise it'll bend. Okay, that's tight. Okay, that's tight. Okay, one more to go. Okay, that's tight. Now you can put the spindle on. Check your ball joints. Everything feels okay. Okay. Let's set it on your lower one first. You got big nut and a big washer. Got to make sure to put the washer on because this is all aluminum. And it will chew itself up. And you got two other nuts, and they're both the same size. One's for your upper ball joint, one's for your tie rod end. Make sure and put your washer on. Okay, there's that. Next, tie rod end. So, in your manual it tells you upper and lower ball joint torque spec and ball joint torque spec. Torque them, align the cotter pins, put cotter pins in them. I am not going to show you that because you can read in your manual how to do it and you get the gist of it. I'm going to go ahead and get the other side put together, and then we'll get the wheels on it, get this thing on the ground, and I'll show you guys a measurement. And we'll see how we did as far as lowering. So I'll be back in a little bit. Okay guys, well, got the wheels back on it. It's sitting on the ground. And I just really even haven't even moved it. So at the beginning of the video, you saw me measure right here. And it was 2 7/8. Now, that's 1 3/4. Well, that's without moving the car to really let it settle. So definitely improvement. So hope this video helps everybody and makes this job a little easier. I'm Greasy Paws. This is Greasy Paws Garage. Thanks for watching, and hit like and subscribe. Thank you.